Hello and welcome back to the channel. Today I'm going to talk to you about a repair I did on my Kioti tractor. Now this repair, even though it was for a Kioti, should apply to many other hydraulic driven tractors. So the problem I was having was with the PTO. I would hook up the bush hog and it would run perfect for about 5 minutes or so. And then all of a sudden it would just slow and slow to a stop. Sometimes it would come back on, sometimes it wouldn't. Sometimes I could get another 2 minutes out of it. Sometimes it wouldn't work at all. So the first thing I always check when I have PTO issues is the switch itself. The way this works, it gets a constant 12-volt supply to it, and then when you engage the switch to turn on the PTO in the back, it feeds 12 volts to a solenoid underneath the tractor. So what I did to test the switch was I was driving the tractor with the PTO engaged, and I had my multimeter hooked up to the switch. And what I was trying to find out was when the PTO stopped spinning, did I still have 12 volts getting sent to the solenoid? And sure enough, when the PTO stopped working, I still had 12 volts coming out of the switch. So that told me that I can eliminate the switch as the problem and move on to the solenoid down below on the tractor. So sometimes it can be hard to find the right solenoid. So what I did was I traced the wires from the switch down below, but we have to crawl under here, and we can see a lot of the hydraulic fittings kind of grouping together right here. If we go under and we look, the connector from the switch came into this connector right here, okay, right here. The other one over here is for the four-wheel drive, I believe. So what I did was I checked this with the PTO running. Now please do not have the bush hog hooked up when you're doing this. Make sure you have the parking brake on. Be very careful. But I had 12 volts at this and the PTO in the back was still not spinning. So that told me almost definitely that something was going on with this PTO solenoid right here. All right, so to get this out of here, it's pretty straightforward. We just need to remove the electrical connector. So we're just gonna unplug this like so, and there is a single 17mm bolt. Now your tractor may be different, but all we have to do is remove this single 17mm bolt, and there's going to be a washer underneath it, and then this coil should just slide right off of the stem. And really all this is just a magnet that energizes when it gets 12 volts to it. And the way it works is it'll move this plunger in and out to allow hydraulic flow. So we can test these coils very easily. All we have to do is get a multimeter, and it doesn't have to be a fancy one. You can get a $5 one, and as long as it has a resistance reading, it's indicated by this omega symbol. It stands for ohms. We just need to check the resistance between the two wires on this connector. Now, since this is just a coil, we should have very low resistance. So I'm just gonna touch one lead here and hold the other lead here. And you can look at my meter and it is an open circuit. It is not making a connection at all. So right there when I tested it, I knew something was up. And if we take a close look, we can see that my wire is actually broken right here. So this coil was definitely bad. But this is where the problem came in. I called the Kioti dealer and they don't sell this by itself. They wanted to sell me the entire assembly down below, which was $1,600. So I measured the inside diameter of this bore here and it was right at 1/2 inch. And I measured the length and it was right at 1.5 inches. So I went on Amazon and found what appeared to be an exact match, and here it is. So we can see them side by side here. They are almost identical, okay? Same inside diameter, same length. Now, this one has the factory connector on it, and this one is just bare wire. So I'm gonna have to splice this in to this connector, but let me test this one here to show you what a good reading should look like. So I'm gonna touch one lead here, and it doesn't matter when you're checking resistance if you do black or red. So we can see here on my meter now, we're reading at 10.8 ohms, which is a fairly low resistance reading compared to the open circuit that we had on the bad solenoid. So I'm going to get this soldered in here and I'll come back here in a minute. Stay tuned. All right, so now all we have to do is just reinstall the coil over the stem, and I've got my washer on there. So next I'm just gonna put the nut back on. Sorry if I'm blocking the camera. Now you can see my wires are facing this way now. Before they were down. I don't think it really matters. This way it makes more sense to me because now I can just come right back up to my connector. So I'm gonna take my 17mm socket and just tighten this down. We don't want to He-Man tighten it, just nice and snug. Just like that. And I'm gonna take my connector that I just soldered and reinsert it into the connector above, coming from the PTO switch. Just like that. We heard that nice audible click. So you can see I've got some extra slack in here. Let's go ahead and secure this a little bit nicer with some zip ties. Okay, so we've got our solenoid coil reinstalled and tightened. We've got the connector reconnected, got it a little tidied up with some zip ties. So now let's go on and see if this is actually gonna work. All right, so here's my PTO switch, and I can just look behind me and see the PTO. So let's go ahead and engage, push down on the black and lift up, and cross my fingers, hopefully it's spinning, and it is. So I believe we have a successful repair. So guys, that's gonna do it for today's video. I hope this was helpful. You know, with just a little bit of knowledge on how these things work, you can save yourselves a whole lot of money. You know, instead of paying the dealer $1,600, I got this thing fixed for like 12 bucks. So I hope this was helpful. If it was, please like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll make more videos as soon as I possibly can. Thanks, take care, and have a good day.